Hello, everybody. Welcome to an episode of The Perry Life. I'm your host, Talea Perry.
Along with the other co-host, Mac.
Perry.
I know my last name. You should know my last name too, because it's your last name.
I do know your last name.
Exactly.
What is this?
It's the way we starting off the episode, I guess.
Whatever. Anyways, so thank you guys for joining us. If you're listening, and you're usually on YouTube, this episode is going to be specifically for our podcast. We'll be filming soon and we'll upload some new videos. So just bear with us. It's been tough keeping up with the video portion. Winter's growing up. She's getting into a lot of things, and we have a lot of things going on with work, school, and, just same old. So again, just bear with us. And again, this episode specifically will be just the podcast version. So don't be looking for it on YouTube because it's not there.
Yeah. Just, before we get started, just a couple of house cleaning things, guys. Make sure that you do go ahead and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating, review, something. We definitely appreciate any type of feedback, anything like that, so that we can create better content. Also, check us out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, whatever platform you listen to your podcast on. We're on all major platforms, and as well as YouTube. So go ahead and check that out. With all that out of the way, I'll go ahead and let Talea kick off today's topic.
All right. So today's topic, we are talking about infidelity. So we had went ahead and we basically asked the question on our Perry Life page about infidelity. Which type of infidelity is worse? You have your physical, and then you have your emotional infidelity. And obviously, with physical, you're just, doing the do. And, emotional, you're emotionally invested in someone else outside of your marriage or your relationship. So, before we go ahead and give our opinions, we did have some people that did, join us in that conversation. So obviously people are just like, infidelity is infidelity. Like, cheating is cheating. It's bad. Like, some people have a zero tolerance for it. Some people feel like they can work through it. It is, do what you do. Do what makes you happy and what works for you in your relationship or your marriage. Now, with that being said, some people see that one is better than the other. One is worse than the other. I'm sorry.
Well, no. There's levels to this.
Apparently. So people are saying that one is worse than the other, and one you can come back from, the other one they don't think so. So someone said that, obviously, cheating is cheating. It's all the same. But emotional cheating, some people said emotional cheating is hard to come back from. Someone said that it's hard to come back from because when you have a emotional connection with someone, that means you're mentally and emotionally invested in them. If you're just, engaging in coitus with, someone else outside of your relationship or your marriage, it's strictly just physical, and it's easier to turn that, physical attraction off than it is to turn off your emotions. And so that's what, and that's what a lot of women that have commented have said. A lot of women feel like emotional cheating is much worse than the physical portion of it, just because of that very reason. You can't turn your emotions off once you're invested in someone. So with that being said, honey, how do you feel about that? Like, what you think? Like, which one do you feel like you could not come back from?
Like me or you?
Like you, like it, what could you not come back from? Do you think that you would be able to stay in a relationship, you know, or a marriage? Like, even we're not talking about me and you because, I'm not even going to do that.
Well, you kind of have to, I think.
Okay,
you
fine.
Can't...
So, I mean, like...
Okay, hold on. Let's just put it this way. It's just in simple layman's terms. Which is worse?
Right.
Which is worse? Actually physically sleeping with somebody or developing an emotional relationship. So that's first. Secondly, when you really examine, this deep down, I can only provide my opinion as a male, as a man, and
as you should.
Exactly. And what I can say, from my point of view, my perspective is simply just that, the cut and dry answer, the easy route is to say, oh, cheating period is bad, or, there is no either or, they're both bad. That's the easy answer. Everybody knows that. But if you had to pick one, and for me, I think coming back from an emotional, infidelity is much worse, or would probably be a lot harder for me to do if that was the case than if it was actually physically, cheating. Like if you went out and slept with some dude, and
I would never.
I know you wouldn't. I'm just saying if that is what happened, as opposed to you actually you develop some deep emotional connection with another dude. I think that would be much harder. Now, much easier from the physical standpoint to come back from than from the emotional standpoint. I'm not saying that I would just stay, if you decided you were going to step out, it would take a lot. We've talked about this numerous times, off the record. It's just, if that was the case, it would take a lot, it would take counseling. It would take a lot of, one-on-one counseling. It would take some mental strength from, I think both people involved, but namely me, if that was the case, because you're really depending upon your spouse not to do that again. But it would be in the back of your head, that's just me. If you went out and did that, and then, we went through counseling and we went through all this and that to try to make things right, I think that would always stick in the back of your head. And you'd always be wondering, you really would have to develop trust again. So that would just, there's a bunch of issues that would come with that. There's a bunch of trust issues that would arise between me and you if that was the case, as opposed to an emotional relationship. To me, you're opening up to another man, and you might be telling him things that you're not telling me, or you don't feel comfortable telling me anymore. And I think that to me is much worse. And I think I made this point a little while ago. You can't necessarily just, and you alluded to it earlier, you can't necessarily just, break off an emotional relationship just like that. I mean, you can stop talking to that person, but that doesn't mean those feelings are going to go away, or you're just going to, not feel connected to that person, as to opposed to, you go out and, sleep with somebody and have a one night stand and cut it off right then and there. That is much easier to do, presumably, than to, just cut somebody off if you have actual feelings for them. That's just me, so that's my perspective. I don't condone it. So don't even ever let the thought cross your mind. Never. Never let that thought cross your mind.
Would never cross my mind. This is just a conversation, because a lot of people feel differently, because just around the conversation of infidelity itself, you have people who say that men and women cheat for different reasons. And I feel like sometimes that's a blanket statement. But
is it though?
I feel like, yeah, I mean, like, do you feel like there are different reasons? Well, you know what? Hold on. Let's table that, because my thought process behind which type of infidelity is worse. I agree. The emotional one is a lot harder to come back from. You know, because of the same reasons. It's hard to just turn it off like a light switch. But then I also think a little bit deeper with that, like, not only do I feel betrayed or whatever, it would kind of make me feel like, if you stepped out, it would kind of make me feel like, you know, yes, you have the question of why, but it would kind of make me feel like, okay, it makes me feel like I did something wrong. Like, if you're literally out here invested in someone emotionally, because it's just like, okay, can you not talk to me? Can you not confide in me? Like, what would be the reason? You know what I'm saying? And that would do a lot of damage to me. So that's that. But I want to kind of talk about the physical portion of infidelity, because my thought process with that is, when somebody goes out there and they step out like that, you're putting yourself in a very risky position, because you can contract something, and I don't want that. You can get someone pregnant, and I don't want to deal with that. And that's just me personally. I do know that some people, when their spouse has stepped out and it has produced a child, that sometimes that couple, they do end up working it out, and, and they do what they can do to make that child feel welcomed, which I agree with, because that child didn't ask to be here. But it's something that is a lifetime, thing. Like, you made one poor choice, and that one poor choice, has produced a child, of which you can't just walk away from. So now we are all invested for the rest of our lives. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think that we kind of agree with the whole, that my takeaway from what you just said is, we kind of agree that there is definitely a component to the emotional that would definitely be difficult, but there's also circumstances that can stem from a physical
Right.
stepping out that could haunt you for the rest of your days.
Right. Not saying that a child would haunt you, but
No, I don't mean it like that,
But-
guys. I just
Right.
mean that it could be something that could come back, to change the entirety of your life,
and your family's life, and that in itself, especially if a child is a product of of that, then I feel like if I was in that situation, it would be very difficult, especially if the mother is not easy to deal with. That would just be a whole nother. It'd be like, really, you stepped out, this is what you did, and now I got to deal with all of this extra stuff. Like, nah. But I just wanted to add to the physical thing too, because I'm an overthinker. So if you guys are overthinkers out there, you guys might understand where this thought process is coming from. So my thought process is, if my spouse steps out and has a physical relationship with someone, and they can just cut it off like a light switch, then that's fine. But I think about the person that they cheated with. So what I mean by that is, let's say if, your spouse steps out with somebody that they really don't know too well, and they have that physical encounter, and your spouse can cut it off like a light switch. But what if that other person can't? What if that other person begins to feel slighted or emotionally involved? We don't know what their mindset is like, where their mental state is, or anything like that. So, you know, you are kind of putting, yourself and your family at risk because you don't really know who you're dealing with. Homegirl could be crazy. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah. I mean, anytime you do that, you have you are opening yourself up to anything. You're really opening up myriad possibilities that are going to be bad.
Right.
So
STDs, babies, craziness.
Yeah, I mean, so
right. And that's just too much.
Yeah, but I mean, let me put it this way. Let me ask you this. I have to put you on the spot because we're trying to keep it real here.
That's fine.
If I was to step out of this house tomorrow and go actually sleep with somebody,
you wouldn't step back in.
Okay. See, there's the answer right there. So there is no working it out.
For me, no.
Okay. Now let's turn it around.
And hold on, I know people are probably like, "Oh, you guys are married. You made a commitment before your family and before God." Like, that's fine. But just like you said, we made a commitment before our family, friends, God, and each other. So he broke that. He broke that contract between us. Okay. So for me, if that contract is broken and I decide to walk away from it, then I decide to walk away from it, because I'm a firm believer in, if I allow him to do this and we kind of get, over it, it can only go one or two ways. Either it can be smooth sailing from here on out and he's going to do right by me and this family, or he might have another slip up. But for me, I am the type of person where I'm done. When I'm done, I'm done.
Well, that's why I've been
down that road before, and I'm not doing it again.
That's why, I'm saying, like, is there no, hypothetically, there is no working it out. So you gave your answer already. If I was to say, let's just flip it around and say, if I was to develop, just tomorrow, out of the blue, I just make really good friends with another female and I become emotionally invested in this person, and you find out, and, we're faced with a situation where it's like, what do we do at this point? At that point, you think I could come back from that? Would you still want to stay?
At that point, I would tell you to continue to be invested.
Okay. So we've gotten to the point where now it doesn't matter for Talea. I can't put words in her mouth, but what I just heard pretty much is it doesn't matter which form of cheating it is.
I mean, honestly, if you did have an emotional, okay, so here will be my question. I'm a counter your, okay, so you said if you go out here and you have, this emotional relationship, is it a relationship that you sought out?
It could be anything. It could be.
Well, the reason why I'm asking is because for me, it's like, it's one thing if you, just out of the blue sky, just have an emotional connection with somebody or mental connection with somebody. But if you go out and I feel like, and you're seeking that, then then you premeditated your infidelity. That was calculated. So for me, that's it. Because you made up in your mind that for whatever reason, whatever you weren't getting from me mentally and emotionally, you made a decision in your mind that you were going to go out and you were going to seek it to make yourself feel better. So that lets me know that one, you're selfish, and and two, it's just the fact that it's premeditated. You didn't care about my feelings. You didn't care about my my thought process. You didn't care about how all of this was going to end up. So you only cared about planning to have this emotional connection with another woman. So from that point, no, don't bring your behind home because I don't want you. I hope she does.
Strong words. You guys heard that. Like, all I can say is, obviously, we're not faced with this situation, but I think that there are different circumstances to which, I previously said there are levels, and I do believe that. I think that, like Talea said earlier, men and women cheat for different reasons. I do believe that. I know I posed the question, do they really? But I do think that is the case. I think that oftentimes men may not be getting, and I can't speak for every man, obviously, because I know that men do develop emotional attachments to, females other than their wife as well. But I will say that from what I've seen, the majority of these circumstances usually present themselves in, one of a couple ways. One, a man may not be getting what he wants physically, sexually, from his woman, from his spouse, wife, whatever, what have you. And so he's going and seeking elsewhere. So I know that is a common occurrence among men who do actually go out and get, who cheat. Two, there is the aforementioned emotional attachment of it all. There are men who may not feel like they can speak openly and freely to their spouses and, have a hard time opening up, whether there was some event that happened between them or, they just kind of drifted apart or he just didn't feel comfortable with her anymore. That does happen too. And so maybe he doesn't mean to step out.
Go to counseling.
Yeah. I mean, there's different options for that, different options to counter that. But in the, before that happens, before you get to that point, if a man is feeling like maybe, he can't open up to his wife anymore, depending upon what's going on in their marriage or relationship, I know that there probably is circumstances out there where he may not be looking for an emotional relationship with another woman, but it may just happen because he's not getting that at home. So I know that is.
If he feels like he can't talk to his spouse, then write a letter, send an email, something.
I mean, but you're missing the point of what I'm saying.
No, I hear what you're saying.
What I'm saying, bottom line is, it doesn't matter what point that you get to if you feel like you need counseling, because you will arrive at that point where it's make or break. But, before, it's found out or before there's actions taken against to prevent it or anything like that, any countermeasures, there are specific circumstances where that can happen. And I think that's when you get to, what is most important to you. Are you going to throw away your marriage? And this is another thing, longevity matters, family matters, children matter. People stay together for a myriad of reasons. I think that you have to come together and decide what's most important to you. Are you ready to call it ends just because that person may have stepped out or because
let
me finish my thought. Are you willing to call it quits because that happened or somebody, got attached to somebody else in an emotional manner? Are you guys both willing to throw it away? Or are you willing to come together? And like you said, go to counseling or do some type of activity together that could strengthen your bond. It's just, what are you going to do? Are you going to throw it away? Or are you going to work towards making your marriage better? And I think, you said either way, it doesn't matter. You're going down. You're out. You're getting kicked out.
I mean, physically, like, we're done, emotionally, that for me is kind of like, it's like, I want to say that we're done. But like I was saying earlier, if it was premeditated that you were going to go out and have, a emotional or, emotional connection with another woman, then that for me is a definite, no, like you can't come home. But I feel like if it happens, then we could possibly go to counseling, to try to move past it. I feel like I might try, but it would really depend on what day you catch me on.
And this is, and okay, so let's just put it out there then for, you your perspective, bottom line, what is your opinion on that? So you're saying that you can, if it's physical, you not wanting to come back from that, and if it's emotional, you think you might be willing to work through counseling, depending upon what day of the week it is. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so that's her opinion. That's her thought.
That's my opinion, because you just up and having an emotional connection with someone. I feel like I would question it. Like, is this a real connection that you have with someone, or does it feel real because you're not getting this at home? Because if you began to get it at home, then would you kind of drift away from that person?
I think that there would definitely be some sort of drifting. I think when you look at this both ways, when you just put it into perspective both ways, physical, let's analyze this. If Talea says one day, well, not says, if she decides that she's going to step out, I'm not thinking that she's not getting what she wants at home sexually, because I don't think that's how women operate. That's just my opinion. And I know that may not be the case. I specifically, I'm not going to get graphics on here, but I'm pretty sure that, we're good there.
Okay.
I think we're good there in regards to sex drive, things like that. But I mean, we keep it real. I'm not going to get detailed. I'm not going to get
Trinity be listening.
Sorry, Trin.
Hey, Trin.
If you listening, don't tell your parents. Anyways.
They listening too?
Anyways, I think that to me is not something that I'll be worrying about. But then I would be having trust issues after that. But emotional, you get to that. When you put that into perspective, I definitely think that I would be thinking, well, am I being open enough with her? Is she feeling like she can actually come to me and talk to me about specific things? Are you feeling like it's a lost cause at this point? Like, you're just in this for the kids and, physical aspects. What is it? So I think that would eat at me more than the physical. And that's why I think that's where we defer at, because I'm saying that, I think that I could possibly come back eventually from physical, being physically cheated upon. The emotional aspect to me would be much harder for me to, get past. I think that when you really get down to it, how does one build trust again? Because once it's lost.
Right. Well, that's why I was saying, like, if anything with the emotional cheating, like, there's a possibility that I could attempt, but honestly, I don't know.
And that's based off your past experiences too, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that plays a factor in it too. I was not married, prior to my wife. And then my wife was. We're not going to get into all that, but your past experiences do also play a part in it. Are you like, man, I've been through this too many times, forget it, I'm not doing it again? Are you?
Well, okay, so just really quickly. So, in my first marriage, there was a lot of infidelity, not on my end. So I did have the conversations at the time, and we talked about working it out, and I tried to stick to that, but the other person didn't. So for me, I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, and I don't have the patience. Like I said, we made this commitment to each other in front of everybody, and I can't keep going in the same, it's insanity. You know what I'm saying? And not saying that you should have to pay for what
you gotta pay the price.
what the other person has done, in the past. But I'm just not interested in that. And honestly, like, the dynamics will change. like, even if we did stay together, I think it would be very hard for me to think that we could move past it and be better than we were before.
I mean,
Like,
yeah, I mean, I think initially, I don't think that it would be, we're back to where we were, you know, I think it would definitely take some time, but
yeah, because I mean, like,
I think you can get back to that.
it would just take too long.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the eye of,
Like, I really don't know, though. Like, I really don't know. Physical is a definite no for me. I want to say emotional. If I'm looking at it on a scale, I mean, it's 50-50. It really just depends at what capacity.
yeah, it is definitely a matter of perspective. You know, when you get down to it, it really is up to that person to decide whether or not, hey, I can come back from this shit. It's like, what are you actually wanting to do? Are you going to fight for your relationship? Are you going to fight for your marriage? Are you just going to say, forget it, I'm done? You know, it's just a matter of perspective. So, you know, there you got it. You know, you have Talea's opinion and, you know, you have mine. I think that, you know, at the end of the day, we all know, it's ingrained inside our heads that cheating is bad. You know, it doesn't matter what form.
Yes.
You know, it's one of those things where it's looked down upon either way. It doesn't matter what circumstance. It doesn't matter if that spouse cheated on you and you decide to be retaliatory and do the same thing. It's just ugly. It's not good.
Right.
It's just, there is no good circumstance to cheat on somebody. That's just my opinion. You know, we heard for some of y'all, but, you know, we'd love to hear a little bit more of y'all thoughts.
Especially from the men.
Yeah, we didn't get enough of that. You know,
women were extremely vocal about it, but, you know, the men, they didn't really say anything.
Well, we had
I
a few
kind of
people,
feel like for men, though.
some of my friends.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. I kind of feel like for, you know, men, they would be like, no, either way.
It depends upon, I keep saying it's perspective. It depends upon the guy, because I would like to think that I'm a pretty, you know, sensitive dude.
Right.
You know, I would think I'm not your average guy in regards to that. You know, that's just my opinion. It really depends upon the person. It really does, because even, you know, some of, you know, opinions that I heard from my friends when I asked them the same question, you know, they kind of shocked me because they said, you know, physical. I thought maybe for them it would have been emotional, but because that's my opinion. We'll really have to, you know, take another look at this once we hear from you guys. Maybe we'll revisit this topic again, but it is all down to that person's point of view on, you know, on this specific topic. So again, we'd love to hear, you know, more from you guys. You can hit us up on Twitter at The Parried Life. You know, you can, you know, hit us up on Facebook. You know, it's definitely.
Oh, we have an Instagram now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why we neglected to do that in the first place, but we do now.
You know, because I don't know, but we got one now. So,
yeah, but
yeah,
definitely check us out.
At The Parried Life. We literally just started our Instagram page, so you know.
Yeah, I mean,
when we get more content, it'll be more.
Y'all, the bottom line is y'all can reach out to us on any platform: Facebook, The Parried Life, Twitter at The Parried Life. Same for
anywhere
Insta.
you go, it's gonna be The Parried Life. Okay.
Yeah, so you know, you can reach out definitely. And as I said, you know, to kick this episode off, please subscribe, leave a review, rate on Apple Podcasts. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yes.
On Spotify, on Google Podcasts, you know, whatever streaming platform you're on, check us out.
Yeah. And before we end, you know, today's segment, I just want to go ahead and say this. You know, it obviously doesn't matter which one you think you could come back from or not. That is, you know, that is on you. You know, everybody makes choices. Everybody, you know, is responsible for themselves or whatever. You know, if you choose to stay in a marriage or a relationship where somebody has cheated, there is nothing wrong with that. that is your choice. That is your prerogative. And, and if you choose to leave, same thing.
Yeah, we ain't judging y'all either way,
No, it's your decision. It's your life. It's what makes you happy. And it don't matter what other people think or what they say.
So and that was another thing. It's just like, that if that happens, people have a hard time, I'm sure, keeping that, with just within the marriage. Sometimes it just gets out there that this person cheated on that person, and then other people start to form opinions of that person. And that's why I'm of the, mindset that, whatever happens within your marriage, you better keep it in your marriage if you want people to have, positive viewpoint on both people.
Right.
Talia went out there and, did either one of those things. I'm not going to be out there just telling anybody, what happened, because I don't want people to think any differently of her if we decide to work it out. And it's just, that's just, to me, that's common sense. But I know that that's not always the case with people.
Especially in the time where we have social media. And some people like to tell everything.
I mean,
but again, that's your prerogative.
That's the world we live in now. Unfortunately, everybody, tends to know everything about each other. But, at the end of the day, if you're happy and you're able to work things out, it doesn't really matter what the heck other people think.
Right. Only you know what your breaking point is. Nobody can tell you that.
Exactly. So I'm not going to go, go on a long rant here. I'm just going to go ahead and say thank you guys for listening.
Thank you.
And make sure you tune in. Don't forget to subscribe.
Yes. Bye, guys.